Hey everybody. In this video we are going to go over the PowerPoint on Chapter 11, writing about theme. So in this PowerPoint we wanted to figure out how to define theme and explain its importance, and distinguish between the subject of a story and its theme, because they're different things. And then identify specific questions that will help lead us to a better understanding of theme. Okay, so what is theme? It can be defined in numerous ways. It can be what we call the central idea or thesis. It could be the central thought, the underlying meaning, which can either be implied or directly stated. The theme can be the general insight that's revealed by the entire story, the central truth of the story, the dominating idea. It can also be referred to as the abstract concept that is made concrete through characters, structure, imagery, symbolism, point of view, and setting an atmosphere. Theme is that underlying thread. What the author wants us to think about, what they want us to experience, what they want to reveal to us about the human condition. And they're choosing to show us that through this particular story. So the theme is not what the story is about. The theme is not the plot or the topic. It is a statement of ideas and values. It is what the story reveals to us. So, for instance, you can have numerous subjects of a story, different topics for stories. You know, we can have a story and the topic, the subject is war, or maybe the subject is love, or human relationships, or marriage, or growing up, or death, or prejudice, or power. Those are subject matters in stories, topics. But the theme is a direct or implied statement that the story makes about the subject. So, the subject of our story might be human relationships. What is the author trying to show us about human relationships? That's the theme. Okay? So for example, there's a short story by Alice Walker. You know Alice Walker, she wrote The Color Purple. There's a short story that she wrote called Everyday Use. The subject of it is mother-daughter relationships. We have a mother and then her two daughters, and her two daughters are very different, and she has a different relationship with each of them, and then the two daughters have a very tense relationship between the two of them. Okay, so the subject is mother-daughter relationships. The theme of the story, though, is the insight that we gain from thinking about what we have read in the story about this subject matter. So the subject is mother-daughter relationships. What we learn by examining that subject has to do, there's a theme of heritage and tradition, the theme of rural versus urban black identity, right? So subject is what the story is about. Theme is the message about the subject, what we gain from it, the point the author is trying to make through the subject matter. The subject matter is just the tool that the author is using to express the theme. So we have a couple more slides here that kind of expand on this a little more, make sure we understand it. So if you think about the story of Romeo and Juliet, right? Tragedy, pure tragedy. So ultimately, the central marriage in Romeo and Juliet, their marriage, ends in death, right? Showing that this kind of passionate, irrational union cannot exist in a world fueled by hate and revenge. So, that statement about Romeo and Juliet, part of that statement reveals the subject of the play. Ultimately, the central marriage in Romeo and Juliet ends in death. That's something that happens in the story. That's part of the subject matter. The second part of that statement, though, reveals theme. This kind of passionate, irrational union cannot exist in a world fueled by hate and revenge. So the subject matter is simply their marriage and how it ends in death for both of them. The theme, the message that William Shakespeare was trying to express to us is that marriages like that, that are passionate and irrational, cannot exist in a world fueled by hate and revenge. That's the message he wanted to share with us. All right, we have another example here. So it's a statement about the Wizard of Oz. Okay? In the Wizard of Oz, each of the four main characters yearn for something: a brain, a heart, courage, home, and look to others, i.e. the wizard, to provide for them when all along they had it within themselves, revealing their own powers of self-sufficiency. So again, part of that statement simply refers to the subject of the story. And that's the first part. In The Wizard of Oz, each of the four main characters yearn for something: a brain, a heart, courage, home, that they look to others, i.e. the wizard, to provide for them when all along they had it within themselves. That's the subject of the story. That's what happens. The theme that is revealed by examining that subject is it revealed their own powers of self-sufficiency. That's what we gained by examining the subject of the story. Right? So,